It is UAP Tuesday. It's the big thing, folks. I'm excited to talk to everybody. And man, it's like there's new stuff every week. We've been talking about it for a bit now. About, I'm sure that the skiff, man, the skiff, are the senators ever going to get in? Well, Burchett says yes, and Luna says yes. It looks like they're going to get into a skiff potentially with David Grusch, but he's not the only one. Burchett was on an interview talking about how there's a ton of other whistleblowers, and that as he says, he's like, he's not the only one that has all this information that they're potentially getting in the skiff with. So that's a very interesting point. Jeremy Corbell is a very prominent voice in the UAP space. He had someone on his show who said another confirmation of, we have these ships. We've cracked these ships. We're reverse engineering these ships. And the question is, well, who the hell is this guy? And why do we take this person serious? We'll get into that. We'll go into some of the footage that's running around on UAP Twitter or whatever the hell it's called these days. And we look at it at the very end of it. We'll explore it. And we'll get into more conversations. I watched the first part of the George Knapp doc on News Nation. I think part 2 comes out today. See if that was good. We'll do some housekeeping. Comment that happened last week that you guys were very upset about. I understand. Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Anywhere podcasts are found, that's where you can get this show. Please help out the show by doing just that. Subscribe, leave us comments, all that and more. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as we are almost at 100,000 subscribers, but we need you guys to hit that button. All right, it's myself, Mark Riley, and Roxy Stryer on the show today for UAP Tuesday. Big thing. Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. UAP Tuesday, big thing. Mark, Yodius, Riley in the house.
Happy to be here, Kristian, as always.
Roxy Stryer.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew you were waiting to say that. You were waiting for it. Roxy, what's been going on? How are you?
What has been going on? The world is on fire, and actually, that with things that really matter, but still, aliens being top of the list of things that really would change the entire frickin' world.
Would change the world.
Really would.
We're glad to have you back on the show.
Happy to be back. I was worried I pissed you guys off one too many times.
Well, that's probably true, but not enough to keep you off the show. There's tons of things. Riley, should we do housekeeping first?
Yeah, well, let's do that first.
So last week on the show, we were talking about the George Knapp doc, and on it, we hadn't seen the first part yet, and Riley had he'd read an article. That
would have pissed him off even more.
If you wrote it, no, but you read an article about the stuff that George Knapp was talking about, and in the documentary itself, he is the first people who was interviewed and kind of cracked the case of Bob Lazar and revealed Bob Lazar. But Riley had said that it was Bob Lazar who had said there was a meeting with aliens.
Yeah. I actually just misread the damn article I was sourcing, so that's my bad, everybody. It was that especially no. And when you're dealing with stuff like this, you don't want to say stuff that's wrong,
right? Because people,
and that's what is more important to me. So that's an apology on my part.
And totally, I mean, it happens. So there were just people that were saying things along the lines of I have done a lot of research on Lazar. He's never said that.
He's never said that.
Absolutely right. He never said that. But the meeting.
It's really more about what was said for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The content of it. And who was it that said it? So I'm correct in this?
So John Lear, I believe that is.
The Lear.
Yeah, because
yes.
So what it was is, Roxy, so in this documentary, George Knapp talks about kind of how he got to, part 1 anyway, I haven't seen part 2, but he gets to Vegas, he starts working for this news company, he's doing a lot of stuff on the mob, but then John Lear comes in and wants to pitch this story of all the stuff that he knows to this one particular reporter he's like, and Lear's like, this is going to change the world and this and this and that. And the guy's like, whatever. And so Knapp goes, hey, I do this interview show. Yeah. You want to sit down with me? And he did. And he did and he didn't know if Knapp didn't know if Lear was telling him the truth or whatever it might be. Just talking about how the government had definitely crashed vehicles and all these different things. And
arranged a meeting. There's a meeting of aliens.
Now, I don't know if that was in part one, no, but it was just, he basically just said there was so much inside of military documents that he had. And then Knapp was like, look, the place went nuts once the ratings, and people were like, is this guy telling the truth? And he's like, I don't know if he's telling the truth. We've got to have him on again. So then they had him on again. And it was Lear who basically got Bob Lazar to talk to Knapp, but at the time, Lazar was like shaded. They didn't silhouetted. They didn't show his face. I forget what they called him. I think they called it whatever they called him. They called him some fake name because it was Bob Lazar's like superior. So he used his name and he said that he got threats because of it. But then eventually Lazar came out and talked about it. It's a pretty fascinating thing. What I will say after watching the doc, because I didn't know enough about George Knapp going into it. I mean, I'd heard his name obviously through this community, but I totally believe George Knapp is a full-on like baller of a reporter, and I think that he believes a lot of the stuff that these people are telling him, but he's just in some of the stuff he's like, I don't know what I believe. But yeah,
when you get like stories like that, if you walk in and talk about military has this, military has that, and I have first-hand knowledge, it seems to be repeating now.
Yeah, well, Roxy, they basically said that Knapp is like the godfather of UFO reporting.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you guys do if you felt like you had definitive proof? Like at this point, I feel like even if you share it with somebody, everybody questions you anyway.
I've talked about this. Do you know if I was he and I like a couple of weeks ago, if I was walking down the street, go to the woods to walk the dog, I have my phone on me, alien pops out and I get it. It's going right on this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right there.
Are you being serious, though?
100%.
That's your first step.
I'm immediately posting it on this channel and letting people say whether because at that moment, no one's confiscating it. No one's like, I'm not telling anybody else. I'm putting it right on the channel, and people can say it's fake. People can say this or whatever, and then they look at it and they can analyze it, and then people, the real people will go, what is that? What'd you do? What'd you see? It's going right on the channel immediately.
You don't think that would delegitimize it? I mean, it just is.
If it was real?
Yeah, I think it's just so challenging because even going to what you said, Mark, about why it is so important to not give the wrong name, because there is already so much misinformation out there that we never want to add to it, of course. But even things like this, it does make me, of course, you're always going to be skeptical. You hear there's a meeting with aliens.
Right.
Your brain immediately goes to, BS. No way.
Back the truck up.
Where was the meeting? Who was involved? Were the aliens sitting? Were they standing?
Right.
What did they look like?
Were they in a bowl? Were they liquid form?
Right. Your brain just starts to wander. And at some point, I don't feel like I'm capable of hearing information like that.
Sure.
So I don't know that the world is capable of seeing your YouTube channel Alien.
Well, footage. I feel like there's misinformation out there on purpose, and then there's information that is put out there in a truthful way that is misinterpreted.
Yeah.
And then people go, it's misinformation. They want to fill in blanks. I feel you, man. I do the same thing. I feel like there's somewhat of a protection in it because you get it out there. It's out there. It's unedited. It's like, no, this now is stamped in time.
I would also send it to James Fox.
Yeah.
I would
I would say you start going around to the experts.
Right. I would immediately send and say, look, if I legit actually saw it like clear as day, that's the first thing I would do. I'd go right to the channel. Hey, James, look at this. Get this over to whoever else you want to do. Say what you want to say about it. I know what I saw. Right. That's what I would do because I don't want any of this. Because if it's that clear, right? Because it does seem a lot of times when people are getting the footage, and we're going to look at some of it later. It's the little dots, and even the one that I saw that I think is pretty compelling is this family. I think is in like England, and they're watching like this. It's like it looks like just a star. And a lot of times I'll look out at the sky sometimes and you just see like a big bright star and like, well, it's a star. This looks like a star, but it starts zipping and moving and the kids don't know what it is and the father doesn't know what it is. And there could be an explanation for it. There really could be, but it's also
satellite of some kind.
The way that it moves, I don't know. But it's still.
I sound like such a skeptic today, and I think I'm probably the least skeptic at this point because
Fair question to ask.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing. All the time now, when I look up into the sky, especially also after hearing your story, Mark, of what you saw, I just want to be chosen. I don't want to look
such a weird feeling
in the sky and see something so that it can start to be with my own eyes because I've never seen anything even remotely that made me question, is that a UAP?
Right.
And if I were to see that, I feel like that would be everything that I would personally need.
Yeah.
But not many of us get what Mark had.
Yeah, I know. It's true.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mentioned it before, but, throw this out there. The fact that I happen to be with somebody that has claimed to have seen, UAPs on numerous occasions, as well as abduction, and then for him.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For him to be there with
seen
me.
abduction.
No,
he is claimed to be abducted numerous times.
I want to have him on the show.
Yeah.
He's claimed to have been abducted numerous times.
Numerous times, and so then.
And I asked the question that you're thinking right now: is he a lunatic?
Yeah.
I asked that question.
Yeah.
He was the director of my
I was asking
film.
it nicer, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the director of my film, my horror film about aliens. So yeah, he had this crazy, passionate connection that is absolutely real.
And they brought him back.
They brought him back. Yeah, yeah.
But
you feel...
you see everything that just went through there from what we're talking about here to what the audience is feeling right now.
Right.
It's the general consensus because there's a couple different scenarios here. That's true. But there's a couple different scenarios. There's scenario one where I say, is he a lunatic? Right. And that's not because like, oh, he's crazy seeing aliens. It's because there are also people who are out of their minds who talk to mailboxes and believe they're having conversations with them, right?
Sure.
So you ask that conversation and you say, hey, and he's like, no, he's not. He's good there. You're thinking about it and you're going, well, I don't know. But what if on this scenario, what if this is true?
Nicest guy I've ever met, actually.
What if it's true?
Do you believe him, Mark?
I do.
Wait, but
I believe he believes it.
You believe he believes it. Okay.
I believe that he has had an experience that I can't even imagine what it must be like.
But do you think he was actually abducted by aliens?
I'll tell you this. I'm going to curse, too. What the fuck did I see? Right. And why was I with him? And why was that the fifth time for him? And, when you start to...
You should hang out with this guy, Roxy.
When you start to put together some of his experiences and then why, like, there we are, and I saw with my own two eyes, and I saw this thing, and again, I've seen in comments, like, what did you see? Let me give you a short rundown. Big light, green halo, booking across the sky right in front of us over the trees. We were in a forest in Michigan. It stopped dead in the sky. Yeah. It hovered. We were all looking at it. Another one behind us flashed us. Trees lit up. I turned around. That thing just went. Psst. Never seen anything in my life move as fast as that thing.
Is there any reason that off. You could determine that they would specifically want this person?
No, I can't determine it. I just think it's
because it seems like that's what you were implying, that there was 5 times.
I'm absolutely implying that. Why is it that I had my experience with somebody that is questioned and had real experiences to where he is, I've sat down with him numerous times over, breaking bread, having deep conversations. And, I don't want to paraphrase him. I don't want to misquote him, but I know he's just like, I can't explain it.
Will he legit talk about it on air?
Yes.
He will.
Yeah. So he's talked about it on my old podcast, so I'm sure he would.
I feel like we need to
I'm
get him
so sorry. I have to be here.
Yeah.
Why do you apologize?
I have 4,000 questions.
It's a fantastic conversation because I've had it with him.
Did he say it was friendly, or did he say it was not friendly?
I can't. I don't know.
I'm sure it was more complicated than that.
It's very complicated. It's it's some have attributed it to like night terrors when you feel that that presence over you. You can't move.
Yeah.
That's not friendly feeling. That's that is terrifying. But also there's experiences he said where he could see his body coming out of the house, and it just disappearing. Stuff like that. That is just you want to when you talk about that, especially for me, that's where I go. And part of the housekeeping up top when they arranged a meeting. They met in person. This is somebody I know well and respect and adore. And he's like, yeah, I was actually taken. So to talk to him about it, it's where I draw a line almost where I'm like, it's so hard for me to believe that. But when you talk to him, there is some profound thing that happened that is very interesting to
I'd be fascinated to talk to
digest.
Yeah. Because also, if he is telling the truth, I feel horrible for him because right now I don't believe him.
That's kind of my point.
Well,
that's my point. My point is the same thing. Like where I asked that, you say that because how can you? And it's like, why is this? And again, no offense to him because I don't know him. I don't know him. I met him once or twice. He's a very nice guy. But like you say to yourself, why would they care about a film director who is
That's why I asked if there's any reason they would take him.
Right.
Like he's not a political pundit. You know,
That's exactly right. And your question is the most valid. What if he's 100% telling the truth? And it's just like, but you don't know why.
If that happened to me and I was trying to convince you guys and you didn't believe me, I would be devastated.
Of course.
I mean, I would be devastated.
But think, okay, so that's one scenario. That pushes us right into our next topic, which is essentially this Jeremy Corbell interview about this guy that he interviewed, that Roxy, you listened to it. Riley, I think you listened to it as well, too. I'm going to play the clip for you guys, and we'll talk about it on the other side. All right, this is from News Nation interview with Jeremy Corbell. I'm going to play a little bit of it, and then we'll talk about it.
An interview, definitely a bombshell. Dr. James Lacatski had him on. Says that there's UFOs in government possession, that they've seen the inside. Why should we believe this guy? Like, explain who he is.
Right. So I wouldn't classify Dr. Lacatski as a whistleblower. Dr. Lacatski is, for decades, been involved with the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he actually ran the UFO program that the world learned about in 2017. It was misreported. The $22 million went to a group called AWSAP, Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, and Dr. Lacatski ran that for the Defense Intelligence Agency. He's not speaking out of school here. Just like David Grusch, he submitted for these DOPSR requests, which are basically requests of what can I say about my work, and he's written a new book. And in that book, there was this bombshell, this atom bomb, and I was reading it. I couldn't believe it. So George Knapp and I had him on the show because this is a rocket scientist who ran the UFO program for the United States for the Defense Intelligence Agency. And in that statement was three things. He said the U.S. government has a UFO in our possession. Already, that's amazing that he admitted that. Then he says, we have an exploitation program to reverse engineer it. And then third, we breached the hull of that craft. So all of this was outlined in like a simple statement. So we had him on and he just straight admitted it because he could, because it was the legal process he went through to be able to admit that.
So like David Grusch, he had to get special permission.
All right. So that's,
oh my God.
So that's the first
That's
part.
the juicy part.
Yeah.
That's
So what's fascinating about that, Rox, is that like Jeremy Corbell said, this isn't just some random, and not to take away anything from the guy that brought in the alien bodies at the Mexican hearing, but like the guy that guy was kind of like, you know, he's like the movie version of he found this thing. This is a guy that worked for the program. Like he worked for the program, and in his book, that's the part where people go, well, yeah, he's writing a book. So
yeah, of course he wants sales on it, but I feel like when you hear about Dr. Lacatski's history and what he's done, and having to get permission in order to do this, the same thing as Grusch. I mean, the first part and the second part, so they broke it down into 3 parts, right? We already kind of have heard a lot about, right? The first part being that they have UAPs in their possession. Right now, we've heard that from several different people that are credible sources, that they're looking to reverse engineer it. We know that as well. But the whole part, what is they breached the whole?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the thing that when I heard of all of the other information that came out this week, because every week is fully loaded, that was the part that I'm thinking, I don't even know what that means. Like, is the hole the key? Is the hole the center? Is the hole what they were looking to get into so that they could reverse engineer? Is the hole the last part? Was the hole the first part? Like, what is the hole?
I know. Keep going. Like I was like, and then
I'll play a little bit more of the interview in a second. But
it just feels like keep going like
down the rabbit hole.
How far did they get?
Well, the reason why, again, if you listen to the interview like Bob Lazar did on Rogan, right, when he was talking, they talked about, I'm pretty sure, again, the audience will definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty confident that he talked about how there was like this, that they were trying to like crack to get inside of it, whether it was I don't know if force field's the right word, but there was a kind of protection over it, and people got really hurt trying to get into it. So, and it's been, if you believe all the different reports and all the different documentaries we watch and all these different things they've had, whether it was the one from Roswell, if it was from these other things, and that they talk about that a lot in the George Knapp one. And it's also should be noted that George Knapp does that podcast with Jeremy Corbell too, so that's something that I actually want to start listening to that podcast more. But yeah, Rox, I think that's really what it is. It's the fact that they have probably been working on this thing for years. Again, whether it's starting to, when you get more reports like this, my opinion is it starts to make Bob Lazar look a lot more credible.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And it is hard to know like what makes somebody credible, right?
Yeah.
Like when we're just combining stories for a second, when we go back to Mark's friend for a minute, what makes somebody more or less credible if they're abducted? There's
Right.
no like rap sheet that you could have that would make you more credible or not credible.
Well, I don't know about that.
As a human, yes, but not as
no.
a researcher.
Well, yeah, researcher, sure. But maybe this is not the point you're making, but like this doctor's, no offense, clearly more credible than his friend.
Well,
Because
what I'm saying is that any human being could be abducted. Not any human being could crack the whole code.
Right.
So
right.
you have to have a level of clearance, credibility,
Yes,
government
yes,
clearance.
yes.
You know. So at that point, we are going to scrutinize, looking into everything that they've done before, everything they've said
Right.
before, what their history is. Have they ever been caught in a lie? It matters so much more because they are claiming that they have UAPs. They have been able to
Right.
reverse engineer them, and they cracked the hole. They broke the hole, whatever this hole is.
Yeah.
And that takes a certain level of credibility for us to believe it.
Good, right.
I tell you, when it crosses over into government, and not say what you will about our government or what you want to believe, but the process to get involved in these programs. I had a friend, a fraternity brother. He listed me as a reference, and the government called me to check. I mean, and the questions were hard, and this was
What
just
kind
an
of
entry
questions?
level stuff. I mean, it was just do you trust him with secrets? I mean, would you trust this man to learn about government things, and would you feel safe knowing that he had these? But is he right in his mind? Those kind
Right.
of things. Hard meaning it's like
you're not going to put this doctor in charge of this stuff. If he's, it's like we talked about with the nuke guys. You're not gonna, like the guys who've testified and said these things about the nuke stuff.
Correct. It's a process to get involved in these things, and that's a layer of credibility that just I buy.
Yeah.
And it's the same when they released the Tic Tac video.
Yep.
When this to me feels like another small peek behind the curtain.
Well, this is a kind of like the prequel to all that, right? Because this is the guy when you see what Lou Elizondo kind of helped. He was part of that program. This guy was part of that program that eventually what the New York Times was reporting on, and that led into. I feel like you're following this movie now that all these.
It feels
different
like it's a
pieces-
movie.
And then
they're cracking the hole. What came out of it? The thing.
It's Indiana Jones for sure.
It is,
Yeah.
but look at the Grusch stuff, right? Like, and you mentioned beforehand how there's have they lied, have they done this, have they done that? Look what they tried to do to Grusch with the fact that and admit he had already talked about he was having PTSD and all these different things.
Which is no reason to not trust anybody
At
anymore.
all.
But right,
At
that,
all.
that was crazy,
At
and
all.
they really
And-
try to dig.
And that went away, didn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody's even talking about that anymore because Grusch has been on other things, and Grusch is becoming more and more credible. And we'll lead into kind of the Burchett thing with the skiff in just a moment. But I want to play the rest of that interview to see if we can talk a little bit more about that. I mean, it's too fascinating of a story to just kind of.
Can you
cover
go back and give us the exact terminology of the whole?
Sure.
That's the thing that I keep.
He said the U.S. government has a UFO in our possession. Already, that's amazing that he admitted that. Then he says, we have an exploitation program to reverse engineer it. And then third, we breached the whole of that craft.
Breached the
So
whole
all
of the
this was
craft.
outlined.
So, like David Grusch, he had to get special permission from the government about what he could and could not say. That's why he wasn't really elaborating much, but he was sticking just to those basic points.
Right. So this
that right?
Yes, this is publicly admitted from a direct first-hand witness who ran the UFO program for our government, the one you learned about in 2017, and he made this admission on the record to me and George Knapp, and you can hear it for yourself. Really, it's almost mind-boggling right now. We have Arrow out there trying to research all of these cases when all along the way, our government has in their possession at least one, we know it's more than that, but at least one UFO. And they've been trying to reverse engineer it, and they were able to penetrate into the center of it. I mean, it's extraordinary. The way it's being treated is like the Flintstones to the Jetsons. People are like, back in the dinosaur days trying to whitewash this to the American public. If this is true, if what this rocket scientist who worked on the UFO program says is true, then everybody's got to keep the pace and move up.
All right, so that to me is enough. But like that's nuts. It's like, and it's also but I'm not surprised, and it's everything that they've been talking about inside of these hearings.
Yeah, this just further, like when they ask Grusch about, is there evidence? Is there, knowledge of something? I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, yes, they've retrieved something. They went even deeper. Yeah, they retrieved something, and they breached the hole.
Right.
One of my main questions for you guys on this, though, and something that I continue to ask myself, is when we hear that Grusch gets certain clearance, or when we hear that specifically you're allowed to say breached the whole of the craft, right? Because the terminology that they're allowed to use is what's being cleared. Why are they getting that clearance for some of these things?
Yeah.
Is it because they think that if they don't give them clearance, it will be a bigger issue? Or is it because they do want the public to slowly but surely be filled in on these things?
It's a great question.
Such a great question. I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah,
and
the question is
wondering,
who's approving it.
Right.
The question is it someone approving it that is fighting the cause? Is it someone who's approving it who's saying they're going about it the right legal way and it's already out there? There's nothing I can do about it, and exactly what you're talking about. And if I try to shut it down at this point, the guy's talked about it, and it'll look pretty weird if he just disappears. Like that type of stuff. Like it's a great question. I don't know the answer to it, but what it does look like is that the more and more people are talking about it, and the more and more coverage it's getting. And listen, good on News Nation, man, because they've been covering it relentlessly.
Yes.
I understand why. Also, it's if you look at all the stories that a lot of the mainstream media covers, they cover the same thing. It doesn't get the hits that it does because they're becoming the ones that are really taking this serious too.
Get your
And they're
niche,
putting it-
man.
It's getting your niche, but it's also the same reporter was the one who was reporting in the George Knapp stuff, and so he's really kind of had his nose in it for a while now. So
it's a very legitimate issue that they're covering, and I think that they are doing it in such a great way, and they're not covering ridiculous parts of the story. Like it's not like you can tell, okay, clickbait.
they're not adding to the taboo.
Yeah.
They're not adding. They're
That's
adding,
the most important.
They're adding to the investigation.
Right.
They're adding to the question asking.
They want the truth.
They want the truth from it, and they want it they know how they're approaching it. That's why you're getting people like, again, George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, who are asking these questions. And this is a major interview. I mean, it's a major interview.
Huge.
That not the one we're listening to, but the one that Jeremy Corbell got. The fact that they got this guy to talk about it. Now, this is not under oath, right? So the question is, if they get another hearing, they got to bring this guy in there.
Yeah.
They got to get him.
And then what is he allowed to say in the hearing versus in the
hearing.
skiff? That's also another confusing element of it,
Right.
which we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about.
Well, at least in the hearing, he can say that, and he can say it under oath in front of everybody.
You would assume so.
They breached the hole, and that's in front of everybody, because I feel like a lot of this information, if we go to your question, Roxy, of like, why are they releasing this? I like to think it's like slowly letting the world know that there's some, out there. How many people are following this, though? I mean, it's like, it's just not going to, if we get it at the hearing, we can maybe get it to, I always say, my parents.
Yeah.
Who are so outside of this.
And understandably right now, it's not the number one story out there right now.
No,
and that's
because there's always a stigma from it becoming that.
Yeah, but
there's so many people that just kind of.
I know, but it's also because of the war right now. And it's like the war itself is like, that is going to be
It's
the
the
story.
only thing that's really.
It really is. I mean, it really is where you're like, okay, yeah, this is what should be covered.
Yeah, as you guys know, it affects my entire
Of course,
family
of
there.
course.
So it's been definitely, as much as UAPs take up a huge amount of my time.
course.
And same thing with News Nation, though, which they've done a great job covering over there as well.
And they have, and it's of course I'm watching all the coverage, and I'm paying attention to everything going on.
But I do think that is what our government and what governments around the world continue to hope for, is distractions from the case. I'm not saying that any part of the war is happening because they're hoping that people don't find out about UAPs.
Right.
But I will say that I do think that the government is always happy when people's eyes are averted away
something
from
else.
things that they're trying to hide.
Sure.
And so I do commend News Nation for continuing to be like, this is still a story that matters to people's lives.
Of course, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Hunter Biden is looking at it, going, the coverage is not on him. I'm sure Trump is also. Look at the fact that coverage is not as much. No, they're both getting coverage, but it's still, you're right. It's like it's anytime, but in the case of this, sometimes, like I said, when the hearing was going on and when it wasn't the number one story at the time because of what was going on, it was silly.
Was asinine.
It was crazy. This is
Well, the House of Representatives drama was more important than this stuff.
But when there's stuff going on the news sometimes, and they cover it for like an hour. I'm like, what are you doing? They should be covering this nonstop as they are.
Yeah,
And
there are
but
stories every week that continue to come out that, like you guys are saying, unless it is at a major hearing.
I was talking about the war, but yes, but this should have coverage, and like they're doing on News Nation, because the majority of it is, the war.
Yeah.
And then there's these stories that have been popping up to give us kind of the news.
Well, within
nuggets.
The updates.
these mainstream news channels, they are covering round the clock, the conflict, what's happening out there, and filtered in as news of what's happening with our House of Representatives and all this stuff. And I feel like some of the stuff that is here could be put in there.
Sure,
but
sure,
the News Nation's doing much of it.
No, I just completely agree with you guys. And I do think that, going back to your point, Mark, that this is not relevant to your parents until it's something that's not a 7-minute YouTube hit, but under oath, this is what's happening. And so hopefully we do get to that point, and hopefully he is called. But even if he is, the fact that now the last hearing was months ago and the skiff took as long as it did to hopefully, which we'll talk about that next story,
we will.
come to pass, it is a little disheartening with how feet draggy this entire scenario has been.
True, but it's also significantly more than it was in the last 70 years.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So
I know, but we're going to die at some point, and I need to know what's happening.
Before we do it, and you want to make sure before anything else happens, you want to get yourself a nice wine. And I'll tell you what, man, you're going to hear how excited I am about First Leaf. Listen to this. This is amazing. Let me tell you about First Leaf. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I audibly cheered when I found out that First Leaf was coming on as a sponsor. I cheered. Why? Because I love wine. I love wine. Who doesn't love wine? I am a wine person. I've been really drinking a lot of Pinot Noirs lately, and they sent me them. They sent me one of those. They customize to what you like. Mark Riley's going to lose his mind, by the way, when he finds out that First Leaf is coming on. And they sent me, these are the ones that I got. Look at that. Clearly, the last one is empty. That's right when I got it. Anyway, First Leaf knew exactly what to send me, because they gave me like a little quiz up top. And they said, what do you like? And I love them. They make it so easy to get personalized wine delivered. It's on my schedule. It's right to my door. I choose the day that my shipment comes. I'm never stressed about missing a delivery. And every selection is backed by First Leaf's 100% satisfaction guarantee. It is so good, so easy. I love it. It's great. And it's great being a member, because you get to avoid the overwhelming feeling when I used to go into the aisles of the supermarkets or in the stores in general and go back and forth. And I was like, I don't know what to get. I'm not sure. I know I like this. I'm not sure if I think I like that. I like the taste of that. There had to be a better way. I got the better way. First Leaf. They match award-winning bottles to my taste, so I get just right wines in every shipment. It's wine exploration without the guesswork. If you can tell that I'm excited, you're right. I love it. Look at these. Look at the ones that I got so far. I mean, really, really good. I got I got some Pinot. I got some stuff from Australia. I got the different blends, and I'm telling you, I'm red. I like the red. My wife likes the white. So we made sure we got a couple different ones. Now with the membership, this is the one. This is the one I've been waiting for. I love this one. I love First Leaf. And you guys will too. Give your palate what it really wants with First Leaf. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/bigthing to sign up, and you're going to get your first 6 hand-curated bottles for just $44.95. tryfirstleaf.com/bigthing. tryfirstleaf.com/bigthing. You will be thanking me. This is awesome. You heard how excited I was in that ad. I showed you guys when you walked in. Look what we got. And I told Riley, I mentioned you in the ad. In the ad.
Yeah, I'm excited.
First Leaf, man. It is. I'm like, look, if this is the only show you watch on my channel, this is it. You say, I found you from the UAP stuff. It's the only thing I tune into. You want to keep this show going? And I'll tell you right now, you want to help yourself out? You get that First Leaf. Why? Because $44 for this kind of wine, you have no idea. You have no idea. This wine is fantastic. If you're a wine person, you're not a wine person, not going to help you out. But if you're a wine person, holy moly, it is so good, and it's a subscription. Roxy?
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
No, I know that he is like your wine guy, but do you know that I also love wine? Because you're not talking to me like I'm the target demo and I'm your target demo. Wine,
You enjoy
why
good
not?
vino every now and again.
I love wine, especially this week.
Yeah.
I love
I know.
wine.
I'm never going anywhere else except First Leaf. I'm not even kidding you. This is not. I turn the cameras off.
What did you fill out? What did you say to them that
Oh
you
man,
like?
so they give you up top. It's like do you like the wood kind of taste? Do you like smooth? Do you what's your favorite kind? Like more so the red. Like Sadie, like my wife likes the white more. I'm more of a red. So like and me, it's more of a
Pinot Noir.
Thank you. So, and there was like, they asked you, do you like mushrooms? Do you like tangy side? Do you like berries? Do you like
Spicy, fruity, yeah.
all that stuff? And then by the end of it, then it gives you the bottles that you will get on your first order.
That's so perfect for me because I'm always able to describe exactly the flavors that I like.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it's like, now what?
That's what I said. I walk around the store sometimes and I'm like, I don't know what to. You should definitely try this one. You should definitely try this
now
one.
you're talking my language.
Yeah. So
I
it's
audibly gasped.
Yeah, you should. I cheered. It is the links in the description. Again, try First Leaf Mint. It's awesome, and again, you're helping the show out. But this is one you'll thank me after you get it. Plus, I want them to come back. I want them to be on this show for the next 10 years. All right, let's get to this next story. Talking about that skiff. So this one is from The Hill, and this is about the skiff. This is about, again, the government pushing closer, and even though it's not being covered as much, obviously, right now, it doesn't mean that they've stopped their cause, clearly. So here is the report from The Hill, and after we get through the Burchett interview, we'll talk about it. Here you go.
Info about to come to light. The government released its latest UFO report yesterday. Some key findings from the report, according to former Department of Defense official under President Barack Obama, some UAP have potentially exhibited concerning performance characteristics, such as high-speed travel or unusual maneuverability. An Arrow has conflicted these cases with potential U.S. programs. None of these UAP reports have been positively attributed to foreign activities. Well, according to News Nation, Washington correspondent Joe Khalil, there will be 2 members-only briefings, including one with the Department of Defense Inspector General Robert P. Storch and another with Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Thomas A. Monheim. He continued, the intel community, according to UFO whistleblower David Grusch, has specific info Grusch provided that he couldn't share publicly. News Nation has learned that Representative Tim Burchett and other lawmakers will soon gain access to the classified, sensitive, compartmentalized information facility room where they will be able to view UAP documents. Here's Tim Burchett with more on what may be expected.
Do you go into the skiff with David Grusch, or do you just go through the documents that he has assembled for you?
I believe, first of all, we'll go through with the documents. That would be a secondary thing, which I understand is in the works as well. But from what I understand, there's a lot more than Grusch out there. Dave's a buddy of mine, but there's a lot more than Grusch out there that have this information, and we're going to get to it. And that's why people are very nervous, and they should be at the Pentagon, because they've been covering this thing up since 1947. And now, all of a sudden, hey, 55% of America believes that there's something else out there.
According to Mark von Rennenkampf, legislation titled The Reverse Engineering Programs and offers legal amnesty if individuals with knowledge or materials come forward within 6 months. He tweeted, extraordinary UFO legislation zeroes in on abuse of independent research and development, IRAD provisions, to illegally hide UAP retrieval and reverse engineering programs from Congress. In a historic congressional hearing, Grusch specifically mentions IRAD. Is that a coincidence? Joining us now to discuss.
All right, so that is pretty crazy also.
Yeah, for multiple different reasons. I think that this will be huge, whatever their findings are. I wish that Burchett and Grusch did, because I've heard them both refer to each other as buddies at this point, and I think that that's not the best look for the public to think that all of these people are like chummy with each other, because then sometimes you don't use a more discerning eye. But I think that
Burchett does do that with everybody.
I know he does. He really does. And I also think it's challenging not to become buddies with people that you're passionate about the same thing as, you know? But in general, I think that finally they are getting more access. But whether we have access to that information that they find or not is still to be determined. And it's like, I just want a seat at the table. I want to know what's going on. And it doesn't seem like there's every step that we take doesn't right now. It's like, when do we get that access? When do we get to know?
Well, I don't know if we're going to necessarily get the access, but I think I know what you mean as far as like getting the information after what they're talking about. I think it comes out. I mean, I think that there's stuff that, and this is what
they're looking to do, I feel.
But then it wouldn't be in a skiff.
But wait, this is what he and I talked about. This is what he and I talked about last week, because we're still at the time of this taping. We still don't have a Speaker of the House, right?
Yeah.
So, which is crazy. Initially,
Could be you.
This won't go anywhere
at this point. What we were talking about when at the time last week when Jim Jordan was still potentially one of the things, regardless of the politics involved with some of these people that are running, two of the people that voted to get McCarthy out were Burchett and Gates, right? Those are also two of the big proponents in the UAP stuff.
Yeah.
They were also turned down for having a committee by McCarthy.
Right.
McCarthy was, I think, said at one point said something else, but so, and again, not
right. He said he was on vacation and didn't turn them down, but then it came out they did.
Doesn't
right?
seem like McCarthy cares about this.
Right.
They cared about it at all. So, and not to say that they ousted him because of that, but I'm saying I'm sure it didn't help. And whoever it might be that is a Burchett and Gates ally might give them more resources. Now, I don't know. We don't know who the hell that could be, because there's like 75 people that are running right now.
Yeah, although it does seem like Burchett is pretty well liked amongst his peers, oftentimes. So
he could probably get it. He could probably get it to. I mean, when it comes to this, for sure, and I like. I do like the way he carries himself.
I like the way he carries himself. Yeah, no, and I say that in a kind of ironic way, because I vote liberal, but he is Republican. But I like the way he.
On this issue,
handles
you're
himself.
On this issue, I think, and that's what people don't realize.
Yeah,
you can be aligned with people. You can, I'm more so. And I have no problem saying I'm definitely an independent these days, and I think
I'm registered. But I tend to vote liberal.
And when it comes to it, it's like I want people to be on. Definitely, you always want people to have the same.
I want people to talk.
I want people to talk and have questions, and I want to be on the same page with people. I'm not always. Clearly, it's just not the way the world works. Mm-hmm. But it's okay to say, well, I don't believe that person's on the Red Sox. Still, I can understand what they're talking about.
Sure.
I can understand what they're talking about, but that doesn't happen all the time, because it's like, well, wait a minute. If you're agreeing with that person, this is a one issue, though, that, again, someone wrote last week, silly, very silly. They were like, the reason, and so you see it all the time, the reason why this is happening is because the Democrats want to take, they want to take attention away from the Trump stuff. He didn't say the Democrats. He said they want to take attention away from the Trump stuff. And I was like, well, no, because not only you have the Republicans who are running this thing in general, if the argument is, well, they don't want you to think about that. Well, it's not being covered in all the mainstream stuff too. So
are you talking about specifically UAP hearings?
Yeah, the UAP, just the subject,
in general,
subject matter, which again makes no sense. And if you're looking at, and the fact that the Democrats and the Republicans are on the same page about this too, if it was a diversion tactic, you don't think AOC would go, wait a minute,
right.
Or Moskowitz would go, hold on a second. No. I know what you guys are trying to do here. They're on the same page. This is Moskowitz doing this stuff where he's running this stuff. So I'm not telling you to believe in this stuff, but when you write an article, when you write a comment like that, you're not paying attention, and it's silly.
Well, this is definitely, regardless of your political party, it seems like there are people from all sides, all angles, and from the furthest left to the furthest right. I mean, it doesn't
really
get
is.
much further left than AOC.
Right.
So,
yeah,
and I definitely, with current events that have been taking place, I think it's very important to be an independent thinker.
Yeah.
That your political party does not always align with your personal beliefs, and in this case, it's not one political party. It is people from all different paths that want to know what the F is out there.
Yeah.
It's not even. As we hear the first part of the video that we just listened to, it is alarming and concerning when you think about, and not to scare people, but what is going on with our planet today. And then you think about the fact that there might be things out there that are able to move in a way that we cannot explain. And you think, what could those crafts do?
Right.
Of course we need to look into this. Is this a an issue of safety? Absolutely it is. I'm not saying that's
the first thing they wrote.
That's
right. I'm not saying it's the only issue, but right now, as we are watching what happens during a wartime, do we think it's not relevant to our planet how some crafts in the air are able to move and disappear and switch directions? Of course, that's relevant to all of our safety and beings.
And it is also the crazy. Like you understand more and more as they start to the reverse engineering again comes up in this report.
It's always going to. But I mean, that's
you understand
the
how
one
crazy
thing.
it is though overall, where you get why they're trying to cover it up. Because again, let's say hypothetically, 1940 was it 46 or 47? 47 when Roswell. Let's say that's when they got the first one, and then let's say they've had 4, and they've been trying to crack it for years, and they actually cracked it. Throwing out a number, let's say 1995.
Okay.
And they figured out, so since 95, some of the UAP stuff that you've been seeing in the sky
Is them.
Let's just say hypothetically.
Yeah.
I've had that thought many times.
Them as in our government.
Our government.
And let's say they figured it out.
Private contractors.
They know how to.
Somebody retrieved it and, I don't know,
Let's say
Tony Starked it.
And again, not saying I believe any of this because I don't I don't think that I did.
I mean, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, imagine this scenario where that is happening. And then they've been since 1995 zipping around these things. They found another one, whatever it is, and then they find. And so then it's like, well, someone's going to reveal this, and then we have to explain why we've been covering this up for over 30 years, almost 30 years. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, so you understand why they're trying to cover it up.
But also, if they are attempting to reverse engineer it, it's for a plethora of reasons. One of those reasons being that they're probably trying to use that technology.
Of course.
So in order to ever eventually use that technology, they're going to have to reveal it anyway.
Right. Well, will they?
Yes.
Why? If
Hope to God so.
If it can bend time and space, as Grusch says, and it can do these types of things, how would we ever know?
Because what do you think they're going to use it for?
I know, but how would we ever know?
What do we know?
They would need us to know because there are certain things that they're going to want to use it for that we would have to be aware of, right?
Like what?
For example, time and space travel, right? That wouldn't be something that you think that they would want to keep that a secret. They figure out
why would we have to know that?
Because they want to make money off of it. Because they need the civilians to want to be interested in that in order to make it a viable business opportunity.
I don't think they're going to give a crap about that. I don't think they're going to worry about.
I think that's a ridiculous thing to say.
Really?
You think that the government is going to have access to time and space travel, and they're not going to share it with anybody?
Yes. And I'm not talking about time.
Then what
and
are
space.
they using it for?
Listen, first of all, we don't even know what kind of time, space,
of course, I'm not
and
saying
those types of things. But I'm talking about let's say that this thing could potentially figure out a way to teleport with these things or move in a different way.
So you think just members of the government are just going to keep teleporting and they're not going to ever share that?
If they've been doing it since 1947, if they potentially have been.
But they're just doing it for funsies? Like
no, of course not. But it's like for things that they could potentially be doing. Like, look, the other side of it is too. Like, let's say hypothetically, some of the technology that they have found over the years has been used without our knowledge anyway, like through iPhones and through computers and AI.
To a certain extent, I agree with you, but I do believe if really these crafts are doing what people believe they are, and we are reverse engineering that, I believe that we probably have some good intentions and some not good intentions. And I believe those not good intentions, such as things like war, are things that the public are going to eventually end up having to know about.
Yeah, I just think that if it was run by the actual government, maybe, but this is one of the main things that they're even talking about here with this side program.
Yeah,
of like whoever they're not even funded by the government. They're funded through independent different programs that they're trying to figure out. They've been doing this shady stuff. Why would they want to tell people about it?
Because they're going to want to reap the benefits, and they're not going to be able to say that teleportation is what's on the table. Let's just call it that for now. And they figure out this is how you teleport. You think that the 100 people who know about the teleportation are all going to be like, shh.
No, but I think they're going to probably make it seem like they came up with it on their own.
Oh,
There's so many variables.
So you think they'll share it
I think
as a business, but they won't tell us how they got it.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to I'm not saying that iPhones are alien technology.
I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying that if there were ways to hype up technology in a way that we just advanced this by this one little piece that it would have taken us 200 years to crack this, but we did it because we found this thing.
Oh, I think that's absolutely possible.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I don't think that is what's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, it's more so, do I think that they are going to use this stuff? Of course. But do I think that they're going to, no, I think that if they're able to hide it, they will. Now, the question is, can they hide it? And I think that's what people like Burchett, Grusch, all these people are fighting
That's
against.
step one.
That's
I feel
step
like.
one.
The answer has to be no. They cannot hide it.
Yeah,
sometime.
we have to get to that point where we understand or know or get some knowledge. I mean, I might be different here, but I don't need to know everything if it's stuff that they are working on that is like highly classified. Look, we want to get to the bottom of this. I mean, part of the thoughts when you guys were having this conversation was like they might have breached the hole and not gotten any further and have no idea to this day.
Also. Yeah.
You know, so they're not sharing it because they don't have something. If they don't want to, like, I don't know. There could be so many reasons why. I just want to first get past that. What do you know?
Right.
What do you have?
I think that's very likely, Mark, because as we're listening to what they said, they got to the center of this craft.
Right. It's like,
What does that
and
mean?
they're
That
already
doesn't sound like
sharing
the
that.
engine of the craft.
Yeah.
Like we got to the center. Does that mean you literally developed some kind of laser beam to find the center?
What did you cut into?
Yeah.
I know. They finally just pulled out a saw.
They got
you
to
know?
the center and they're like, weird, a cotton ball. Okay, don't know what to do
What
with
is it?
this.
Right, we don't know.
Black goo.
There's just so many. Again, it's the same conversation that we have every week, but it's like, I just wished it at some point, like, look, it's the jig is up.
Transparency.
Right.
It's like, let's just, it's time now that this
where we're-
hearing's coming.
Yeah.
They got into this skiff. Let's just, we'll say, look, we have been working on it. We didn't think the public could handle it. We did, because you know why? A lot of people are going to go to jail. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to go to jail because they've been holding information. They have been using money on the outside programs. They've been doing all these different things that they shouldn't be doing.
I mean, missing billions of dollars.
Someone's got to answer. There's going to be a scapegoat. There's going to be a patsy, and whoever it might be. Don't think that right now there's not somebody that's lined up for that job. There's someone right now that's like, if it goes down, Ted. Meanwhile, Ted's eating a tuna sandwich, has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate.
Right.
Yeah. Truly I do.
100%. No idea. Just going about his day. Oh, I got the best job in the world. He was hired to take the fall. And it's going to, poor Ted.
Ted.
Poor Ted. Anyway.
Well, I hope not.
Teddy's not fit for prison.
No. All right. So moving away from this particular story, though, but I will say that with the skiff, if it happens, we'll see if any more information comes out of it. Remember the thing that people have been saying, whether it was Lou Elizondo, Jeremy Corbell, Ross Coulthard, James Fox, they all have some kind of information, obviously, because they say that they've all said this, within the next year.
Yeah.
Within the next 6 months to a year, a ton of information is going to come out. As you hear reports like this, it seems they're like, well, it's getting close. It seems like kind of like maybe they're right, but do you take any merit into this?
Do they know? Yes. I mean, you just brought it up, so it makes me start thinking out loud. Do they feel like that it's just information that they know is going to be released, like a little nugget like that?
Louis Elizondo was pretty, and his tweet was kind of like, it's coming. This stuff that's going down.
I think that there's a difference between information being out there for Burchett and a difference in information being out there for us. And I do think in the next year, people will be more privy to more information. And I think that we will be privy to some of that information.
They made it seem, Rox, though, that there's it's a lot of public stuff coming out, too.
Right. And I do think I think we'll get some things. But are we going to get what our government officials are getting? Probably not, because
Probably not.
And like Mark said, some people are going to be okay with that. Some people are like, the classified stuff, the things that you guys are doing that protect our country, that protect our planet, I don't need to know about that.
Yeah,
I don't want to know about that. We all, as a civilian, a lot of us have the same questions. Is there life out there?
Right.
Do you guys have proof of that? Are there UAPs in your possession that you don't know where they're coming from? And did they come with aliens inside? What is it?
What is it? So let me ask you this then. So I'm going to ask two questions here. One, is there going to be information in the next 6 months to a year that you go, wow, I'm satisfied with that information. That's crazy that came out.
You as in me, or you as in the public?
Here.
Okay.
These people, the three of us sitting here right now, where we're talking about it and going, wow, that's the biggest information that, because Grusch is one of the biggest stories maybe ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there something bigger than Grusch in the next 6 months to a year?
It would, in the next year, for me to feel satisfied, one of two stories would have to come out. Either definitive proof of them having UAPs or definitive proof of them having biologics. And if one of those two things is brought to the table with images, with DNA or whatever
That's
is
what's
the
going to
version.
get. So do you think we're going to get that this 6 months to a year?
I do not.
Okay. Riley?
That's good, Roxy. I like that. Yeah, I think we'll get something, but it's just more along the lines of, I thought that they have something and they breach the hole. That's big for me.
Yeah.
That's big for me too.
Satisfied, though, I don't think I'll ever be satisfied because even if it's that, like, hey, we have...
You wouldn't even be satisfied with that?
Well, we have that. Well, dissatisfied is such... for me, it'd be like, well, give me more. What, like, they're going to stop giving us...
People got to stop texting me. I'm going to go... Stop going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the image of the UAP.
If they say finally, yes, here's what Grusch was talking about. This is it. We don't know what the hell it is.
Like if our
I'd
president,
be pretty satisfied.
If our president comes out and says we have UAPs, I have seen them, and we have biologics that are not human.
Right.
If that came out, I would be like, holy Hannah.
That's a fantastic point, by the way. If it gets to the place, because I do think, as you've watched over the different reports of people talking about how the president has not been kind of privied into a lot of this stuff because they're looked upon as like hired guns by these people. But if we get to the place where it's like, no, look, Mr. President, we found concrete evidence. You need to have
read this.
We got to CNN, Fox, MSNBC stops the if you're in the middle of eating dinner and this thing comes up and that is, the president comes up and says that's major.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I'm sasatisfied with with that closure. It's somewhat closure of the first part of this.
That's the opening scene in a movie.
Yeah,
because then
do you think in the next year I
don't either.
I don't
either. But I do think that something big will come out. I think something big will come out in the next year. I do, because even if we're getting stuff like little nuggets like this, something big. My second question, which I think is you're all going to answer the same way, because you both said no to it. If you would have said yes, you might. Then I'd be more curious in your answer. But let's say 5 years for this one. In 5 years, will enough information come out to make someone like a DJ Woolridge go, well, I was wrong? In 5 years.
If you said 10, I would say yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure about 5, but I do think in the next decade that right now that I think in these interviews they're saying the number is 55% of our country believes. And I think that number is going to get up to 75% in the next 5 years. And then I think it's going to be at like 95% in 10 years.
Wow. What do you think, Riley?
Yeah, it needs to go longer, because I even think that it's such a hard thing for some people that even if it came out, I think there could be people that just don't believe it.
And won't believe it because of
won't believe it.
Yeah,
25% of people don't believe that the Holocaust happened.
I know.
So I don't even know
Roxy,
how. I don't say that to deviate, but just
but that is a sick but sad point that is true.
Yeah,
they can't grab. Some people are not like seriously able to wrap their mind around something that is that in ridiculous things that they couldn't see.
You can find it in a lot of different areas. The Holocaust deniers,
flat earthers,
the people that think
the moon landing,
school shooting is staged.
Right.
That kind of stuff. When you think of all the different, this I feel would be just another thing that could possibly get people to no.
I don't know.
What's your answer to 5 years?
I do think in 5 years more people. I think I agree with you more of what off my own question. I think more so of that. The percentages of people who believe will go up in 5 years, I think. So you said it'll go up in 75 in 5 years?
Yeah, but I
think a little higher. I think a little higher.
Could be.
Yeah, because it's just because if we learned this much in a year, and this is for the people that are really paying. I mean, look, and this is another thing I'd like to tell people that are finding this show for the first time or found it last week, because I wasn't very clear on it last week because I've been doing it every week and I didn't want people to kind of repurpose it, but I guess I have to. The way we're approaching this show is that, because I saw some people go, "Oh, you guys aren't like the experts." Never said that we were. Never said that we were. You're going to get people that have been paying attention to this thing for 10, 15, 20 years. I've been curious about it. Riley's been curious about it. Roxy's been curious about it. We did a show together called Collider Live back in the day, when the New York Times article broke, we saw some of the footage. We talked about it for a couple of days, and then it was always in our head. I found a documentary recently on National Geographic called UFOs Investigating the Unknown. I got fascinated by it. I watched it. I couldn't believe this was all the Lou Elizondo stuff and all that. And then inside, and I didn't even know about the stuff that was going on with Grusch. And then the Grusch stuff happened. It was all just kind of coincidental. So we're approaching this kind of just like basically the percentage of people that aren't really in tune with it right now that Roxy's talking about it, we added to that percentage kind of going up.
Yeah.
Because that's how we approach this show. I don't want people to think like, oh, these guys have been locked into it. No, this is like just kind of the average, again, schmo type of approach to it.
I've already learned a lot from comments and just, pointing me in the right direction on certain things. And that's what we're doing. We're just kind of like, going to be talking about this out loud and throwing the thoughts out there, and you're going to help with it.
That's that's what we want to. We want to push it towards the people who don't know a lot about this stuff as well too, and clearly want the people who do know a lot about it to watch and lend more of the insight on it. But please, like I said, and if we make a mistake, we'll come back the next day and talk about it. But like I saw some people who were like, "Well, you're saying this and this and that." I'm like, give us some time to learn all the names. I just learn. I mean, learning stuff.
I suck at names anyways.
But either way,
there's a lot of different experts and then politicians,
right?
And like,
it's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
As there should be.
And I found
they all have the most dude names.
Yeah.
And my brain got scrambled going into UFO Twitter. I tell you, because it's.
Sure. Well, speaking of which, Riley,
there it is. Because it becomes a thing where you're like, is that real?
Yeah. The only thing I'm only going to do one or two of them. I think.
What do you do?
So we watch.
Roxy,
we watch one of these videos and we talk about whether or not we think it's real, fake, whatnot. Here is the first one. This is the Turkey Kumburgaz UFO video from 2009. Dr. Roger Lear was president when the craft was filmed. In this object, one entity is visible. All right, here it is.
Day before your birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Hey. That it is. What is
this? It's a zoom in.
That is crazy zoomed.
Crazy humming. Can't really tell what that is, though, can you?
I don't know. It looked like metal for sure. Some kind of.
Is it? It's a good zoom, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Does it zip off? Just like when I look up in the sky and I see that kind of stuff, I always go, "Oh, that's a store."
I think it's a satellite.
Oh, that.
Wow.
But that is what that first part of it. That thing zipped off. When you zoom into it like that,
it doesn't look like metal to you guys?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a UFO. I mean, it looks like
could be a satellite though.
Could be a satellite.
Oh, look, it came back. Came back. Oh, the other one fell down.
Left.
Oh, that's the moon.
I mean, the moon doesn't move like that, Riley. Moon doesn't come in and.
It's hard to tell whether he's moving though.
Yeah.
So that one's pretty crazy.
Pretty good.
Crazy. This one is. Do you guys think this is a drone or a UFO? They're following it. It depends on how it moves, right? It's just moving so fast. I mean, but again, you don't know from the video itself, is it moving that fast, right? Oh. That's hard to say, though. But where is it? It could be a drone.
Is it going through clouds?
But look at the way it's shaped. But again, it's so hard because it's just such distorted video. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Without more angles and
I have nothing.
I would say
nothing
it's
to
a
make
drone.
me believe it's not a drone.
Yeah,
right,
correct.
Right.
That's
accurate. And then the other one. So this is it. This is an interesting. This is what I was talking about with the family. They're pretty scared with it. Now watch this.
Is it that little white dot?
Yeah. What else is it?
Why does it glow like that?
But it's moving back and forth, like bouncing around. Like,
Yeah,
what
it's
is
like
that?
it's. What is it doing?
It's hard because their hands aren't steady.
Yeah, I can see it.
Look at that.
There's not even any more.
Oh,
Whoa.
Oh my god, it's just.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Music makes it epic.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's aliens. I believe in aliens. I believe in aliens more than God.
What'd she say?
I believe in aliens more than God. Ditto,
Yeah.
kid. Ditto.
Yeah.
No, it came out of nowhere though.
It came out of nowhere.
Oh my god, I got so tired.
This is a crazy one.
It's very.
What-
It's
so
very.
where is this?
This is.
Sounds like it's in England or Scotland.
People do it.
Okay.
You know, let's see. This one is.
Sounded Scottish. I mean,
Doesn't really say. No, it doesn't say. It says this is reactions of people filming this feels real and it seems scary. The only information was filmed 3 months ago.
the thing.
It's very. It moves very similar like the one I saw.
Yeah.
It without the just taking off.
The reason I feel like of the three of them, that one had me the most intrigued is because the way that it was moving both up and down and side to side and
Yeah.
then zipping up,
Yeah.
and also because of the glow around it and in the daytime. It's not what satellites look like or how
Right.
they move.
Right.
It's not what drones look like or how they
It's
move.
above the clouds. It's
Yeah.
thrown above the
And
clouds.
it has its. It just did not move like something that we've seen.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I have any idea what it is.
Right. Well, of course.
And
that's
unidentified.
That's but that
Yes.
goes back to the whole basis of this conversation, the show in general is like, if there's any information that anybody has about it that they do know what it is, like what is it? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's hopefully what we're going to start to get with all this information coming out. But
At some point, somebody would be like, "That's me flying my drone." Right?
Right.
Like you would see that video and you'd be like, "Oh, that was my drone."
that was my drone. It's like, yeah, it's not. Or that again, it goes back to the secret
drone don't go that
programs
high.
or any of those, right? Any of those types of things. So, all right, tons of stuff, guys. Here today, we had a pretty great conversation about it. Always new information coming out. Thank you for checking out the show. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is, and I didn't get a chance to mention it up top, was the Patreon. Patreon.com/thebigthing show. We are actually doing a lot of great things. At 600 patrons, Mike Kalinowski, if you know him, he's going to do stand-up comedy. He's going to do a 5-minute set.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, for
You got him.
If we get to 600 paid patrons, he will do stand-up comedy for 5 minutes
How's he going to do that?
or with work. At 1,000 patrons, we're going to get Winston to go to Halloween Horror Nights. We are going to do, I think, 1,200 patrons. Brett and I are going to sit in the front row of a Corey Feldman concert. And then we are also going to, at 10,000 patrons is one of my favorite ones. 10,000 patrons, we are going to get Brett as the Flirt and Flouse to skydive in character with Jen Sturger, who will be at Jessica in character, not skydiving, but the whole way to where she's going to be wearing very interesting outfits, is what she said. Her words, not mine.
Why don't you have a goal for me?
You haven't been here yet. I want to get a goal for you.
Oh my god!
We'll
is
do one. We'll
so
do one for sure.
For
I think-
20,000, Roxy gets abducted by a UFO.
by a UFO. And then also at 10,000, I'm going to put on a free for all at a live event. We'll figure it out.
Schmodown, huh?
Schmodown free for all. I'll do the whole thing, the bells, the whistles, all of it. But at patreon.com/thebigthingshow, it helps out the show tremendously. But I'll tell you, if you can get that first leaf, man, you got.
I'm going to keep your show in business.
You got to do it. You got to do it. I know Roxy will get it as well too. But Roxy, where can the people find you?
Everywhere at Roxy Stryer.
Mark Yodius Rileyus.
Same on the internet at Riley Around.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this show, and I really appreciate it. This one, out of all the big things that we do, week in and week out, this is the one that has been the biggest performer by far. People want to know. People want to know about it. What the hell's going on? They want to hear people talking about it. So, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Thank you, Roxy. Thank you, Riley. Thank you to all you guys. See you on the flip side. Bye.